event space. As you can see, we have our Fab Lab printed t-shirts on. It's amazing. So it is 4 p.m. and we are here. I am honored to present the last meeting of the day. We have Finola Cahill. She was a 42 Paris student, and I am very, very happy and pleased that she is here with us today. She's going to talk to us about her experience as a 42 Paris student, and then her life and her job and her career. So without further ado, as I am not as interesting as her, I'm going to pass over to her and she will take it away. So thank you all for being here.
Thanks so much. I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure you were very interesting. I did some slides. That way you won't have to stare at my giant head. I'll just share my screen. Can you see slides?
Not right now.
No, not yet. Can you see them now?
No.
Oh, the joys. One sec. It's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Zoom meetings. Okay, 1 second. Okay, can you see them now?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yay. Okay, let's see if it works in full screen. This is the true test.
Yes, it does.
Oh, I feel like a professional. So thanks for inviting me for International Women's Day. Very exciting. Hello. It's me. I am Finola. So I am Irish. I am 32. And I did my piscine in August 2018 in 42 Paris. And right now in 2022, I work for Intel Movidius VPU engineering. That is also not me, that's Adele. This is me. So what happened before 42? Because, you know, at 32 years of age, I did do a couple of things prior. Way back when I left high school in the time before COVID, I did a BA in Italian and political science in University College Dublin. And instead of becoming an Italian politician, I decided to be a kindergarten teacher. And I also played music in a band. You can find me on Spotify. There I am as a baby, receiving my first degree way back, pre-Instagram. And here I am using my skills that I would later use as an engineer, multitasking, lateral thinking, shouting at a small child while carrying, I would say, about 40 tiny coats. So how did we end up here? Why am I not a kindergarten teacher anymore? There were some issues. I was tired of being poor. Teachers are paid badly, really badly. People aren't nice to teachers. And I didn't. Oh no, did I mute myself? How long have I been muted? Okay, all right. Fingers crossed, not too long. So I was tired of being poor. I didn't like kids anymore. I did like them in the beginning, I promise, but that's not a good situation for me or the children. So I needed another job. The steps I took: reflection. I was kind of thinking about why I didn't like teaching, and teaching is very static. You know, you can kind of refresh your pedagogy, you can change your themes, but ultimately, especially early age learning, you know, the children need to learn the alphabet, how to count, their shapes and colors. So you do the same thing every year, and I didn't like that. I wanted a job where I would learn new things all the time and be super dynamic, never boring. And, you know, tech kind of came to mind, but it wasn't really my first choice because I didn't want to go back into traditional education. I'd spent my whole life in traditional education, first as a student, then as a teacher. I was like, God, I can't stay in education forever. So then I panicked for a while. There was panic, and then there was wine. And while drinking wine, I like spoke to my community. You know, I talked to my friends, I talked to my family. My older brother is a software engineer, so he was like kind of pushing me towards it, being like, "You'd be good at it, I promise." I was like, I don't know about all that. And then I was drinking wine with a friend, and he was like, "God, my neighbor was like working in a record store, and then he just got into this school in Paris and left. It's called 42. Why don't you look at it?" So I Googled it, and then with like red wine still in hand, I did the aptitude tests and passed. And then I went and did the check-in, and I was super convinced by the like different pedagogy, the lack of like hierarchy, the project-based learning. Like I didn't want to go and do another degree. I had a degree. I wanted to go and get another job. And I felt like 42 would get me to a place where I'd be ready for a career. So I did more Googling, and then I quit my job. I quit my job and decided to try the piscine and see what happens. So there's my friends threw me a freedom party when I finally quit teaching. There is my plant of freedom, my tiny hat of freedom, my feet free from shoes. Then there was the piscine. That is a fairly accurate representation of my state during the piscine. 42 Paris kindly provide us with bean bags to die on. It was really, really hard. I know some of you have done it, some of you might not. Some of you might be doing your piscine right now, I'm not sure. It was super hard. I wouldn't do it again, but I'm really glad I did. For those of you who haven't done a piscine, it's daily coding challenges, exams on a Friday, group projects on the weekend with random people that you've never met. It's a really intensive onboarding into like the world of code and just figuring things out. But the piscine, everybody always wants to know, did you code before your piscine? No, I was not a coder before my piscine, but I did prepare for my piscine. Once I decided I was going to do it, I reached out to my circle and the internet and found somebody who had done the piscine before, who is still my friend. She got into 42. She's a great gal. And she kind of talked to me a little bit about what was going on. And then I did like a bit of Python online before just to try coding. But it didn't prove super helpful for the piscine because the piscine is a really unique experience, but it did take away some of my nerves. The most important part of the piscine though is definitely not the code you write. Like you're going to write an unbelievable amount of code, you're going to learn loads of new things, and in such a short amount of time, 6 months down the line, you're not going to remember exactly how to solve each problem you did in the piscine. That's not the point. The point of the piscine is to figure out how to solve problems, not to remember how to solve those particular problems. And more than anything, the piscine is about the people you meet. You could do a piscine alone, but you won't get through 42 alone. Like you need people. You need people to challenge you. You need people to review you. You need people to support you when things are dark. Like you see a lot of people crying around day 5 of the piscine, or at least in my day. You need people. You need people to do group projects with down the line, or you will never finish 42. So the people you meet, most important part. Hello, Guillaume, your new head of pedagogy. The reason I'm here, we did our piscine together. You can try and spot Guillaume in there somewhere. So post piscine life, once I actually got into 42, I did the algorithmic branch. I know things have changed. The curriculum shape has changed, and the new curriculum seems really cool. I think it seems really well rounded, and I'm really glad you guys get the next evolution of 42. But for us, we'd like 1 or 2 core projects, and then we all had to pick a branch. There was algorithm, Unix kernel, graphic, web, and then there was like kind of a networks DevOps thing that everybody had to do. I did the algorithm branch, so that would be projects that I think still exist, like Push Swap, Lemon, Core War. And an envy on this, when you have your 42 project and there's a little thing in the PDF saying, now is the time to learn about sorting algorithms, big O complexity, whatever it is, like actually do that. Listen to the PDFs. You can just skip it and write the code, but like there will come a point where you need to know why you're writing the code the way you are. And if you have skipped figuring out the why, it's going to bite you later on. So do take the time to actually understand why you're doing the things you're doing. Otherwise, you could just copy and paste from GitHub, and what's the point? During my time at 42, I'm really glad I made the most of it, because I thought I would be there for my whole education. It turned out I wasn't. So I'm glad I really maximized the time I was there. I went to a lot of talks. I asked a lot of questions. I did like a hackathon. It wasn't really a technical hackathon. It was more like idea generation. It was super fun. Facebook came and did a capture the flag with us, which is like a cybersecurity thing. I just tried things out because I didn't really know where I wanted to go. You can only do 42 once, so you might as well make the most of it. I also applied for things I was not qualified to do. I strongly suggest you do this. Like, if it's something that's interesting to you and you want to do it, and it says you need 5-year experience, just ignore that and apply. Like, the worst thing that'll happen is they'll ring you and be like, why did you apply? And you'll say, thought it looked cool. They'll say no, whatever, you tried. So it's really important to know September, okay, you're a little bit late now, but September is coming again. September is internship season. Start preparing now to apply for internships in September. Those are internships that will happen in summer of 2023 for all the big hitters, for like your Facebook, Google, Tesla, Amazon, Intel, all the big guys. They recruit in September for summer. You start prepping now. You do your code practice now. And even if you're not you haven't met the prerequisites that 42 ask of you to do the internship, just go and do the internship. You won't get course credit, but you'll still have an internship. So apply for them. Don't be intimidated. Apply for the things. I did, during my time at 42, I also made time to practice interviewing and practice particularly technical interviewing. Technical interviewing is hard, and you need other people to practice with. So take advantage of your peers, ask each other whiteboard questions, work through things. I didn't do that enough. I wish I'd done more of that. And I had to kind of catch up later on, but it's really, really important. And it's also really important to take a little bit of time. Like, if you're an older student like myself, take time to reframe your past experiences in a way that is relevant to your new career choice. And also to learn how to sell 42. In Paris, 42 is quite known, but when I went and I was applying for jobs in Ireland, nobody's heard of it. So I took some time and I wrote a little paragraph to explain it and how to sell it. And once you got it down, it's not too hard. So boast about things. When you're good, tell people you're good. Why not? Especially in the professional realm. Maybe in your personal life, don't boast about things, but professionally, do. Don't apologize for 42 not being a traditional degree. That is your positive. That is your selling point. You are coming from a disruptive school, a non-traditional background. You know how to do things that people who've just done a degree in computer science do not know how to do. So don't apologize. Put that forward as one of your positives. Apply for cool internships. I can't say this enough. You can't do internships once you leave school. So do as many internships as you can. Apply for everything. I interviewed at Google. It was my very first tech interview. It went very badly. They were really kind. I also interviewed at Amazon twice now, actually. The first time I failed, the second time I did well, but didn't want to work there, Apple. And then my final interview in this period was for a company called Deezer. I don't know how well known it is in Germany, but it's like French Spotify, essentially. And I went through the whole recruitment process, did a big technical project, had a really good vibe with my interviewer. And then he was like, "You're in the final two." And then he was like, "I picked the other person." I was like, "Oh no." But I thanked him for his time and said I was still really genuinely interested. And he was like, "I really think you're a great candidate." And he got me another internship in Deezer. So I actually ended up interning on the data engineering team, which was fantastic. I had an amazing time for 6 months from January 2021. And then the plague happened. That is actually me losing a coffee, but it was a really good, there's the coffee, RIP. It's a good representation of my feelings at that time. So my internship at Deezer ended up being mostly virtual. I spent 1 month in the office and then we were all sent home. But it was still a really great experience. My team were really supportive. They offered me a job at the end of it, but then the job didn't happen because of COVID. So life. And I kind of, at that point, I decided I wasn't going back to 42. I'd gotten excited about this job and then the job didn't work out. And I was like, do I go back to 42? And for personal reasons, I really needed to get back to Ireland to be closer to my family at that time. So I had to figure out an alternative plan. But my disastrous interview at Google led to me being offered to participate in this Google summer camp for women. It's called the Get Ahead program. As far as I know, there is no way to apply. It's invite only. We were about 80 people. So that is a good reason just to apply at Google and fail. You'll still get opportunities. You'll still be on their radar. They invited me to this. It was super interesting. It was 6 weeks long. And I met a girl there who's doing a really cool master's in Ireland that didn't have a curriculum. You built your own curriculum. And I was like, okay, I'm into that. So I talked to my mentor at my internship and he's like, "You're ready to work, but you would really benefit from the additional theoretical background that a master's would give you." And my family were supportive and my friends, and I did it. So I applied for the master's. My excellent grades from 42, they don't know how many times you retake a project. If you have like a perfect GPA from 42, a traditional university just sees that as a perfect GPA from 42. So that got me a scholarship for my master's from Intel, and I started that in 2021. I'm not going to lie, it's really hard. Master's was super hard. There are things we don't learn at 42 that you probably don't need in work much, but you do need in a master's. So I had to work really hard, but I was also much better at coding than pretty much everybody in my master's. And so I did great. I finished top of my class, and then I got offered an internship at Intel. It was originally a 6-month internship, but after 3 months, they just took me on full time. And I've been there ever since. So now I'm at Intel Movidius. I'll be there a year in May. Movidius is a VPU, so your computer has a CPU, a GPU, and now this new element that Intel have added is a VPU, a visual processing unit. You can imagine it if your CPU is the brain of your computer, your VPU is the eyes. It's for computer vision, which goes hand in hand with neural networks. It was designed on a Christmas napkin. 2 drunk engineers at a Christmas party drew it and then made it, and then they got bought by Intel. So, if you have an idea, follow through. It's highly parallel programmable hardware, if that means anything to you. We do a lot of stuff for big industry, like does that part look wrong on the automated machine yoke? Get rid of it. We also did a project called Tinder for Bees. That was fun. I would look it up if I was you, just to help the bees find love. I work on the design automation team. So the majority of engineers in Intel are hardware engineers, electronical engineers. They are making the parts for the chips. I don't do that. We do kind of DevOps, infrastructure, and we do a lot of tooling for the hardware teams. So my principal stack, I write mostly in Python. I would also do a lot of Bash and C Shell. And then the extended stack, which is more the hardware engineers, but sometimes I have to interact with it a bit. Got RTL, that's registered transfer language, Verilog, some little chunks of Perl here and there, and a little bit of C and C++. Since we are here for Women's Day, I'll talk about gender, because why not? Being the only woman in the room can be really, really tiring for a variety of reasons. So I really strongly suggest you reach out to other women. One of the best decisions I made in 42 was like my first day at the piscine. I sat down at the first computer I saw, and it was with the gang of lads, and they I asked them for help. I think my password didn't work, and they kind of ignored me. And I stood up and I changed seats, and I walked around until I saw a row with like 3 girls in it, and I sat down. And 2 of those girls remained my partners during the piscine, and one of them is still one of my very good friends. And you know, reach out to other women, and on a professional level, reach out to other women. Being in the minority is tiring. People are happy to help. And in turn, when you have succeeded, you know, when you're doing well, support other women. There's this great 2 journalists, Anne Friedman and Aminatu So, came up with this, coined this phrase, shine theory. It's the idea, and this isn't just applicable to women, this is applicable to all friendships. The idea is that if your friends shine, you shine too. Like, success is not a finite resource. Jealousy is a waste of your energy. For me, my greatest pride is not my own successes, it's the successes of my friends and the ways I've helped them get there. Like, I always try to be available to hear them when they need to talk through an idea, to read through a CV, whatever, and vice versa. Like, I know I can count on them, and I wouldn't be there if they weren't there for me. So, you know, find community, or what's it worth? This is something I've gotten a lot more comfortable with lately. Like, when you're interviewing, feel free to just throw the question out there. Are there female tech leads? What is the ratio? Am I going to be alone? You know, and even if the answer is we don't have a lot, but we're working on it, the way the person reacts to that question will tell you a lot about their feelings, gender and inclusion and diversity. And obviously, I am saying all of this from a place of privilege. I am white and middle class. I came from a country that is stable and provided me with education and resources. So, you know, we all have to be aware of our privileges and open to helping people who did not necessarily have the same privileges that we did growing up. There will always be men. There will always be that guy who's like, you're only here because you're a woman. You're the diversity hire or whatever. And that used to really annoy me. I would say it's more prevalent in school than it is in the real world. In the real world, men have worked with women. They're not living their life on Reddit, and they realize a woman's value in itself. But just don't waste your energy on it. It's not your job. It's not your job to teach them about feminism. It's not your job to convince them that you're a valuable person. Ignore them. Focus on yourself. Write really good code. These kind of people do not succeed in tech environments, because you have to be able to work with other people. So don't let them drag you down, would be my message on that one. And I would also say there are loads of really good programs. I should have probably found some links, but we all have Google. I know that Microsoft has a mentoring program for women. Here at Intel, we have a Women in Tech scholarships in Ireland at least, but I'm sure they have them across the board. I know Google have some Women in Tech scholarships and available programs and resources. So, find out what's out there for you and just apply. It might feel awkward, intimidating, scary. Just do it anyway, whatever. Why not? Closing thoughts. Bethan kindly provided me with like some bullet points, which is really helpful. Thank you, Bethan. And at the end, she was like, just tips. So I decided to go really general with this. Tips for life. Don't do anything you don't want to do, but definitely do the things that scare you. Like don't do things that make you unhappy, but it's a really solid life skill to be able to differentiate between something that is scary and something that's making you unhappy. It's very different. And you should probably run towards the scary thing because that's where you're going to grow and that's where you're going to find challenges that will, form you as a person. Team players succeed. Like you could be so smart and have the best idea ever, but like if you can't get people on board, if you can't bring your team with you, you're not going to get anywhere. If you want to run a company, if you want to have a startup, if you want to manage people, you need to be a team player. So if you're really smart, I'm really happy for you, but that's not actually your best life skill. Work on other things. Have fun. The real way I got here to where I am right now is by doing things I like. I don't regret not having become a software engineer 10 years ago. I spent my 20s having a really good time playing music across Europe, developing as a person, and all those experiences I brought with me. So, if you want to work for a year and take a break and go travel for a year, do it. Like, be happy. Make sure you ask for more money. Like all of the tech companies have more money. So just ask, they will give it to you, or you'll find another job with more money. Work is for earning money. And, if somebody takes that personally, it's not a great place to work. And don't work more hours than what's on your contract. If they don't pay you, don't do it. Don't ask someone to do something if you haven't Googled it first. Like I manage a team of interns right now, and they're 100% subdivided into two teams. Team, they Googled it, and team, they didn't Google it. Like if you ask me how to do something and I just end up sending you the first link off Google every time, that's a red flag and people will get annoyed. A person's name is always spelled correctly in their email sign-off. There is no excuse to misspell people's names. And you're going to work in big international companies with names you're not familiar with. And it's just basic manners. So just copy and paste it. If you're not good at spelling, that's fine. Spell people's names correctly and don't reply all unless it's information that is relevant to everybody on the email. Above all, and I hope this kind of came through, like communication is really, really important. You'll need it in 42 because you're teaching your friends and your friends are teaching you. You're going to need it in your job. When you're working on big, complicated, intricate projects, you have to be able to explain concisely and clearly why you're doing something, how you're doing it, and what you're going to do next. You're going to do that every single day. So you can be the best coder out there, but if you can't explain what you're doing or convince people of your ideas, you're not going to get very far. And you also won't be very fun to work with. Everybody wants to be happy at work. You don't have to be a stand-up comedian, but the capacity to ask somebody how they are and listen to their answer is really important. And communication, 50% of it is listening. It's not just talking, it's listening to what people say, taking a 3-second break after somebody has finished a sentence, and making sure you take on board what they've expressed before you express your response. So those, I think that's, yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. This is the first time I've done one of these, so I hope it was okay. Special thanks to Bethan and Guillaume and all of 42 Wolfsburg. Very nice of you to invite me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am not a tech guru. I cannot answer all your questions, but you're welcome to add me if you like. And if you have any questions, feel free. I will say that with an asterisk. If you have a question that is more of a statement about why you don't believe in feminism or sexism isn't real, I will ignore you because it's International Women's Day. So don't bother. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Finola. I think we have a huge round. So from me, really personally, I am in awe of you and possibly a tiny bit in love with you. That was incredible to listen to. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from anyone here on site in school? Yes. 2 seconds.
Thank you. If you were an interviewer interviewing 42 candidates, what are the questions you would ask? And what are the answers, if possible?
Okay, so the first thing I would ask somebody from 42 is I would probably ask them what the best and worst part of their piscine was. This is under the presumption that I am still a 42 student, because I think that tells a lot about somebody, what they remember from the piscine. And my answer is always going to be my community. And the worst part is always going to be the coffee machine at 42. It's really, really bad. But the other questions I would probably, in a serious note, if that was for an internship, that's what I'd ask. With interns, you're not looking for knowledge necessarily. You're looking for attitude and how somebody approaches learning. If I was interviewing you for a full-time position, I have the background knowledge that some core underpinnings of computer science can sometimes be skimmed over in 42, not by the pedagogy team, but by the students. We are all autonomous human beings, and you have to be motivated to learn these things. So I'd probably ask you like a really basic computer science thing, like calculate the big O complexity of this simple algorithm I'm going to write on the whiteboard, and then make it more efficient. Like take a binary search, for instance. I would probably ask, how would you find a number in an array in the most simple, worst complexity situation, which is iterating through every single item in an array to find the requested number, let's say, and how would you make that more efficient, which is binary search. You divide it by 2 each time, you sort, divide by 2, and what's the big O complexity? I'd probably ask something like that, because it's not a gotcha, it's not a tricky question, but it shows a basic knowledge of efficiency in algorithms. But that's just me. I hope that helps.
Did it help? Yeah, thank you. We have a question from someone in the chat. What's the difference you saw between you and other programmers after you did 42?
You would actually be really shocked. Okay, I can't speak for the German education system because obviously I haven't done it, but when I went back into traditional education to do my master's, people really don't program very much in an undergrad degree in computer science. They would do small projects here and there, maybe an end of year project, little algorithmic chunks, but like the big demanding projects that we have to do at 42, they generally don't do them. Maybe a final year project, so one in 4 years. They also tend to come out of school without basic knowledge of Git, which, oh my God, if you're going to learn something, learn how to use Git. You're going to use it every day for the rest of your career if you stay in software. So that was the biggest surprise for me personally, is you go into a traditional computer science degree, you don't really go in there to learn how to code. You learn how to code on the job. Whereas in 42, you go in there and you learn how to code and you're ready for a job when you come out. I think that's about it. If that was
Thank you. Any more questions from anyone here? No? Amazing feedback from people on site. They are very happy that you are talking. I
Thanks.
also love it. I don't have any questions. I'm sorry. Does anyone in the call have any questions? If you don't feel comfortable showing your face or talking, feel free to write in the chat and I'll read them out. No?
I'm just going to say hello to Christina because I can see her in the chat. She's also one of my piscine friends who now works at 42 Paris. So, there she is. Okay, so I see one coming in. Is it possible to land a FANG? So I'm at Intel, which I guess is second gen FANG in many ways. I would also say FANG is not everything. It's great for money, but like it's not great for work-life balance. And also if you take something like Facebook, that first letter of FANG, it's halfway to death at this stage. You know, you'd be much better at a Stripe or a Tesla for like a hot button company. But yes, you absolutely can land a FANG at a 42. I would say that first of all, you would have to do internships during 42. Like if we're talking about a new grad position, do internships, apply for FANG internships. They'll definitely take you if you have worked hard and you've practiced your interviewing skills and your coding skills. There's no reason not. I have interviewed at FANGs. I interviewed at Google and Amazon. I think I stopped the interviews at Amazon myself. I think I probably would have gotten a job, but they do 4 back-to-back hour-long interviews with different engineers. And by the end of that, I knew I didn't want to work for them, speaking with the other engineers. So yeah, you can. It's just a matter of applying. Like 42 it's a school like any other. And in 5 years' time, when you have 5 years work experience on your CV, nobody's going to care what school you went to anyway. So, you know.
We have a question on site. How many internships did she make? Okay, how many internships did you do during your studies?
So I just did one at Deezer, and then I did one at Intel, and then joined Intel. But I regret that actually. I really wish my first year in 42, I wish I'd actually just applied for internships immediately and did them anyway, even though I wasn't qualified on the 42 prerequisites to do an internship. I would have just taken a break from 42, gone and done the internship, and come back, finished my 42 prerequisites, gone and done another internship. Because okay, maybe if you have financial constraints or time constraints, you can't do that. But if you have the time, just do as many internships as you can, and you'll walk out. A, they're paid, and if they're not paid, don't do it. B, you'll walk out with at least a year's experience on your CV. Your hardest job is always going to be your first job. Once you've got one job, you'll have recruiters knocking on your door. So, you know, don't be discouraged if it's challenging at first to find your first few placements.
Thank you. We have one more question from Tanya. You have your hand up.
Yes. So did you pause your curriculum for Deezer, like officially? Did you hand in a freeze if you had that at that time at 42? And would you advise us to pause the curriculum? Plus, how long did it take you to finish the core in total?
So I didn't pause for Deezer. I actually spent about 5 days sleeping at school to finish my final project, so I would be qualified for my Deezer internship. Thank you to my friends who like made me eat and drink coffee during that time. But I would say, look, if you have gotten an internship that you like and you think is going to be beneficial to your career, and you're not going to have finished the 42 prerequisites, take the pause, speak to the pedagogy team I mean, they're humans. They're there to help you. If they see that you've a great opportunity, they're not going to block you, you know. So take the pause, do the internship, come back to 42. Personally, right, so I think technically, as of the new qualifications, I didn't finish the core. I don't think. I never got to level 16, which I think is, I actually don't even know what the prerequisites for the core are right now. But I just told everybody I did, and that was fine. Like they're not going to check. I just said I finished the junior program at 42, because in my head my first internship completed. At that time, it was called the Inner Circle. So completed the Inner Circle, and I had my grades, and I had references from the people at my internship, and that was enough. So, you know, it's great to have goals and to try and finish the Common Core. I think they've really rounded it out pedagogically. So it's an excellent goal to have. But ours was a little bit more loosey-goosey back then, the curriculum. So I don't think I technically have any qualification from 42, but I learned a lot at 42.
Awesome, thank you.
No worries.
There's a question in the chat. I get the feeling that the core and the piscine used to be much more difficult than it is now. I don't know if, can we, Guillaume, Finola, help?
I don't think it is. I mean, Guillaume would be better based to answer this as the pedagogy guy, but I do know there's some major positives to the new core. Like, so as I mentioned earlier, we had to pick branches, right? So I did the algorithm branch, and that meant I really didn't get to do any of the Linux, Unix stuff, which I end up doing a lot now. I do a lot of like kernel lower things. So I'd have loved to have done some of those projects. And we didn't do any Git apart from like using the in-house Git repositories to like submit our work. Whereas I know there's some specific Git modules now, as far as I know, in the core. So I think it's more of an evolution. I don't know if it's any harder. I hope the piscine is a bit easier. My God, it nearly killed me. So, you know, they have the reasons for doing things. Do you have any bonus material there, Guillaume?
Christina replied in the chat. Guillaume is
great.
Just moderating the chat. We can't. We're having a little technical issue. It's more complete now than it was when you did it, and it's a bit more difficult now. We have 3 more minutes with Finola. Is there anyone else who has a question on site? No? Online? No? Well, if no one has anything else, I will give you all 2 minutes of your day back. Someone else, hang on. Do you recommend LeetCode?
Absolutely. LeetCode every single day. Literally, like if you can convince somebody to buy you the annual subscription for Christmas, it's about €150. It's not cheap. It's worth it. Will it help you in your job? Absolutely not. You will never use any of those coding challenges in actual work, but it is ironically the only way to get a job. So yeah, LeetCode every day.
I will pretend I know what LeetCode is. Thank you.
It's like coding challenge website. You do little algorithmic things generally.
So we have one last question. This will be the final question for today. I was wondering if and how your background before starting coding anyhow helpful to get the internships or the job offer?
Yeah, actually. So my internship in Deezer, one of the things they really liked about me was that I was a musician. So it's really important to have interests, and communicate them. That little part of your CV where you list your interests, people do actually read that. You should do that and mean it. Don't lie. So music really helped. And being a teacher, I think every single tech company I've ever interviewed with have responded really positively to that, because you get a lot of diverse personalities in tech. You get people who have different levels of communication, different kinds of learning styles, and being able to explain things well and adapt to different personality types. It's a team sport. Like, software engineering is a team sport. And if you can be a team player, and you've proven that before, people will respond positively to it.
Thank you. As it is 16:45 and we don't want to keep Finola from the rest of her Tuesday, I would like to thank her very much for being here and for sharing so much of this. I found it amazing. So everyone, a round of applause for Finola. And I want to also thank everyone for attending today. It doesn't matter if this is your third or first event. Thank you so much for celebrating us and for celebrating all the women you know and supporting us and letting our voices be heard. We don't just need one day in March. It would be great if you tried to carry this on for the rest of your life every single day. Thank you so much for everyone for being here. Thank you all for the support. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Nice to virtually meet you all.